All right, cool. Looks like we are recording. So we are here with Mothers Illuminated, and we're talking to Erica today, who's a Arbonne representative amongst a whole bunch of other things. So Erica, tell us a little bit about your journey as to how you got to where you are now, what made you want to be a mompreneur, and kind of a little bit more about what you're doing.
I started my Arbonne journey when I was single, about 10 years ago. So my vision, my goals, my why were all totally different. And then I met my husband, and we were dating, and it was I was able to do all the things, go out and do the vendor events, and like do the home parties, and busy myself with my business as much as I could, to start building to new levels and promoting and whatnot. My son is 5 now. So he was born in 2019, so right before pandemic hit, right?
Yeah.
So I was kind of a forced stay-at-home mom, and it's actually crazy because like my business like boomed during 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe it was because I was home more and he was an infant, and people were working from home and still buying stuff. So for those who aren't familiar with Arbonne, it's a global business opportunity, but it's also product based. So you can build a team and sell products. So I had a pretty good client base that kept me going in 2020. And then through that whole time period, some things happened, and I ended up being pretty much a full-time stay-at-home mom, and then kind of got into my profession as an occupational therapist, and became self-employed with that as well.
Yeah.
So
Nice.
so I was doing that for a while. It was a little slow going. So I'm kind of that person that's always learning and growing, and for some reason I just can't stop like schooling. So I went back to school and became a postpartum doula. So kind of wearing all those hats along with being a mom. So yeah, so it's been a crazy ride the last 5 years, trying to build all these businesses and being a mom and all the other things that goes along with being a mom and a wife and homeschooling. So it's just, whew, I don't know. It's luckily for me, I finished all my postpartum doula courses and the other certifications I got there, kind of after momming hours. And being that my business with Arbonne is a global opportunity and a global business, I have clients all over the place. So, when I was working Eastern time zones, then after my son went to bed, I could work with my clients who are in the Pacific time zones and Canada and things like that. So it kind of works out well to be able to work like that. So I don't know, what kind of questions do you have for me? I have a whole bunch of stuff listed down here, so I'm like trying to just stay on track.
Yeah, no, I love it. And so like all your stuff is wellness based, which is really cool. So you're definitely on like a wellness path and trajectory. But what made you interested? So, you started off with Arbonne, then you ended up doing like some occupational therapy in there as well, and then doula. And so, I mean, those are very different things. They're all in the wellness niche, but they're very different. So what made you like start doing occupational therapy, and then what made you want to add doula to the mix?
So I've been an occupational therapist for 20 years. And I started my journey with Arbonne as a way to just add some additional fun money and extra income to my single life. And like I said, so my son is 5. So when, I guess, once we got married, like my extra income with Arbonne was help pay for the wedding and things like that. And just like, just enjoying life as a single and then as a couple.
Mhm.
And when my son was born, it was just a way to continue to like feed my own soul for helping others
Mhm.
when I wasn't working as an OT, because I was either on maternity leave or furloughed and all the other things we won't get into right now. But
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
so I just, as an OT, like, you're always helping people to get better, through rehab and education and bettering themselves. Um, Occupational therapy has a very holistic like mantra, I guess. So it's like, all about client centered and helping people become better mind, body, and soul, and just um, being there for them, whatever the client needs.
Mhm.
Um, so when I started my journey with Arbonne, it was kind of funny because I went to like a friend who had started the business. I went to her presentation, and um, like, we were besties at the time. So like, I was just like, "Oh, I'll come support you." And I opened up the catalog and I saw one of my mom's friends from church,
Yeah.
someone I've known for years. And I was like, "Oh my gosh, I forgot that she did Arbonne." And she's like,
Mhm.
top 1% of the company, has a huge team. I tried the products, loved the products. I went home and signed up. Like, I didn't even like think about it. It didn't even cross my mind not to do the business,
Mhm.
because the products were incredible. I loved their business model. I loved their philosophy of like empowering people with sustainable, healthy living.
Mhm.
And it just was like, it was kind of a no brainer. Some people, they call it um, like a Snickers decision, right? So like, you're not
Yeah.
buying $1 million home. You're not doing anything like extravagant. It's like, do you
Yeah.
want this? Do you want the Snickers or not? Like, are you going to
Yeah.
invest, you know, $60 to possibly make $6,000 or $600,000,
Mhm.
or are you not going to? Like, there wasn't even a question for me whether I should do the business or not. And
Mhm.
at the very least, I thought, I'll get a great discount and I'll get amazing products. And if I build this to anything big, which was my vision at the time, oops, sorry, uh, like, that was, um, that was an extra added bonus. So um, I was like totally on fire for the business and the business model. I love meeting people. I'm totally a people person. I mean, in occupational therapy, obviously you're working with people all day long,
Mhm.
a lot of times one-on-one, and educating them on different things. So being able to educate new clients and groups of mostly women on, the benefits of the products and the business opportunity and things like that, just really resonated with me. And um, most of the people that I've met through Arbonne are moms,
Mhm.
um, who either started while they were working their career and then have, transitioned to um, just having their Arbonne business and being able to be home with their family. So I know that's a lot of people, a lot of moms, um, wish they could do that, be home with their kids.
Mhm.
If that's your jam. If there's, people who are like, "I'm a career mom, I just want to, do this," whatever. I mean, everyone's in a different place. Um, but it's kind of funny because I never like imagined myself as a stay-at-home mompreneur. I was like,
Mhm.
I'm going to be a mom and an entrepreneur and work my career and do this and do that and do that. And then it just sort of fell
Mhm.
into place,
Yeah.
Um, and being that, like, occupational therapy is such a wellness and holistic kind of profession, um, like, Arbonne really fit into that sort of
Mhm.
mindset for me. And then I was thinking of, different ways that I could branch out and help people more holistically. And I don't know, postpartum doula just sort of
Mhm.
popped into my head. I was
Love
like,
that.
it's something that, um, I think is a very beneficial service for people.
Mhm.
Um, and I got a couple other certifications as well. So like breastfeeding counselor, perinatal nutrition educator, which kind
Mhm.
of falls under, some of the Arbonne stuff too, like with our nutrition products. So it was kind of just like everything kind of just meshes together. And, occupational therapists, especially since I have the postpartum doula aspect, like I can work with new moms who have whatever issues from, you know,
Mm.
physical issues that might be creeping up because of after having a baby. Um,
Yeah.
so I'm kind
Would
of
that
going
be
off on.
like would that be like diastasis recti and like what types of issues would you be able to treat that a typical postpartum doula wouldn't be able to?
So postpartum doulas don't really treat anything. They're there
Okay.
mostly to support the mom to like help with meals, excuse me,
Yeah,
help
you're
with
fine.
meals or like laundry, watch the baby so mom can take a nap, maybe get up, be if they're there at, in the middle of the night, someone who helps feed the baby like a bottle while mom can sleep, or
Mhm.
making grocery runs, or, cleaning the house, things that to just take the pressure off of mom
Mhm.
so she can feel her best,
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I know this is like a mom's podcast, so
Mhm.
we've all been there, and
Yeah.
the struggles. Oh gosh, oh sorry, I just knocked my
That's
computer over.
okay.
Um, so anyway, so just kind of tying that in with the holistic perspective of um, making healthy food, and
Mhm.
like how can we fuel our bodies efficiently while we're nursing, and um, you know, things like that. But as far as like the occupational therapy side of things, we've all had that kind of like the carpal tunnel from carrying
Yeah.
a car seat, or, shoulder issues, back issues from
Mm.
sitting all different weird positions,
Yep.
working with mom to do, um, more ergonomical, um, like ergonomic based, uh, like suggestions and things like that.
Mm.
Um, So my specialty is hand and upper extremity therapy. So anything, that kind of comes up, you get nursemaid's elbow from, you know, carrying the car seat or holding the
Mhm.
baby in funky positions. Um, the diastasis recti, that's more physical therapy.
Okay.
However, some of the things, because I'm also a prenatal yoga educator, so I
Mhm.
have an sort of like that education also to kind of help moms who are pregnant kind of avoid getting that problem.
Yeah, yeah.
um, so yeah, so they all kind of just tie in together. And
Mhm.
I know when I was nursing my son, I would always have like my Arbonne protein shake, and I'd have
Mm.
my Arbonne protein, balls, protein energy balls to that I mixed up with some extra ingredients to help with like milk production and things like that. So just sort of combining all those things together and
Mhm.
being able to provide sort of like a well-rounded service for people. But um
Yeah.
and
So all the different things that you're doing, what do you think as a mompreneur is being the most successful avenue that you're pursuing?
definitely Arbonne.
Definitely Arbonne.
Yep.
And you know what? I love that because I know like Arbonne's sort of like one of those MLM type of things. So it's,
Yep.
you're socially selling a product that exists with a different company. And a lot of people say such negative things about MLMs, affiliate
Yeah.
marketing, social selling. And yet here you are as someone with licenses, certifications, and what people might consider more legitimate businesses. And you're making more money
Yeah.
doing the network marketing.
Yeah.
So if someone's sitting there, if you have like a mom that's looking at all these different options, right? What would you say has been key and crucial to you being so successful in Arbonne?
I would say definitely the community.
Mhm.
um the products sell themselves. They're amazing products. um I have a great team of uh coworkers, if you will.
Mhm.
And just everyone is so loving and kind and helpful. um and you don't have to have a degree to start this business, which is
Yeah.
amazing. And it's less than $70. to be your own
Yeah.
business owner. So like that's unheard of. Like if someone wants to start, I mean, I pay, this is maybe too much information, but to be self-employed as an occupational therapist, it cost me, I want to say 10 times as much.
Yeah.
10 times as much to start as, and that's like almost per year
Yeah,
to
yeah.
be self-employed. Whereas with Arbonne, you don't have to have a degree. You have to be 18 years old and a willingness to learn and grow and have, for me, like if I'm looking for someone for my team or someone I want to bring into the business and show them how it works, a good work ethic and, um, positive vibe. It's just,
Yeah.
it's just it's about showing people how healthy living and holistic, sustainable products can be a better choice.
Mhm.
Um, we follow EU standards of ingredient policy. So we have over 2,000 ingredients we don't allow in our products, where the US is somewhere between 11 and 14, depending on what site
Yeah.
where you get your information from. But,
Yep.
over 2,000 ingredients we don't allow in our products. They're vegan, they're gluten-free, they're some of them are kosher, some of them are halal certified. There's, all sorts of certifications we have. And, you know, if someone's willing to learn the ropes of how to social sell, I mean, yes, it's in the MLM category, but there's room for everybody at the top. So it's not like you're in this. I know people talk about the pyramid scheme, right?
Right, yeah.
So the problem is like we're an inverted pyramid. So everyone starts at the bottom, and then there's room for everybody at the top.
Mhm.
So exponential growth is huge. And we're in 6 countries, so it's awesome because you could have customers and build a team in any country that we operate in, which I
Mhm.
know there are certain MLMs or network marketing companies where you can't do that. You can only sell in the US. So
Yeah.
it's pretty awesome because I'm actually, it's a long, short story, if you will. um, I'm I'm actually on the Scottish team,
Mhm. That's
which is
pretty
pretty
cool.
cool. So my original sponsor, the girl whose party I went to or presentation I went to back 10 years ago, she was from Scotland, and I was like, oh, I'll just join you. And I thought we were kind of joining under our friend Jess, who lives in Maine. And it turns out that wasn't the case, because she was actually under her sister-in-law, who is in Scotland also. At the time,
Yeah.
she and I were both living in Boston. Um, so she moved back to the UK, and then I was like, oh, wait, I'm on the Scottish team. How did that happen? But it's been really great because I've met some really awesome people. We've had, I'm in like the group chats and at the different global conferences that meet in Vegas every year. Like I've roomed with them, I've met up with them. It's, listening to all of the training calls with all
Yeah.
of my Scottish colleagues. Like my son, when he was like a year or two old, he kept coming out with these weird words and I couldn't figure out what he was saying. Then I realized he was saying it with a Scottish accent. I was like, oh my gosh, that's so funny. I didn't even I couldn't understand you, but you were talking with like a Glaswegian accent.
Yeah, that's so cute.
Yeah. So that was pretty funny. But yeah, I mean, like I've got clients right now in Canada. So like it's it's a great opportunity for someone who's looking to um, either replace an income, add an additional income, or, you know, have community, really. I mean,
Yeah.
and I think that um, being a part of the global team in Scotland has been very um, just it's just been amazing to watch and see kind of like the differences between how they interact a little bit.
Mhm.
But being that my team is my upline, I guess you could say, is in Scotland. I have several teams in where I live now and around the country who like when I lived in Boston, I would go to like one of those teams monthly meetings. And when I came to New Hampshire, I go to that team's meetings sometimes. And then I have another group that I'm a part of from where I'm from back home in New York. So like they've all taken me under their wing, I'm not on their team, but they're like, you're with us because we're all a community. We're all one,
Yeah. Yeah.
You have your own business. You're a sole business owner, proprietor of your, Arbonne business itself, but you're not in this alone. There's
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
much like training and just, yeah, I think the community is probably the thing that has really, really impacted me the most, because I guess I can be shy sometimes, but like I everyone kind of tells me I'm a social butterfly. I'll talk to anyone. I mean, even since I
Yeah.
was a kid, like I would talk to anyone. But I think um, when it really when it really hit me that how impactful this business can be, not just the products, but like the business and the business model, was when I had my son, because I was home so much. I was on maternity leave and then furloughed and all the other things. So for moms looking for something extra, whether it's a little bit or a lot extra per month or whatever their goal might be, um, I think that it's a really great opportunity for anyone who's willing to, learn and put the work in. So
Yeah.
I'm really, really blessed with that. And I know I would say probably I know a lot of the girls in my upline, and a lot of women in this industry with Arbonne are Christians, which is amazing. My immediate, well, my friend that was here in Boston with me, but my now immediate sponsor, upline, whatever you want to call them, she's a very strong Christian. She's got a great podcast out there, and it's just a really, really cool environment to be in when you can share that mompreneurship, your faith, and growing a successful business. So it's just a pretty cool combo.
No, I love that. Absolutely. And so, how long would you say it took you before you started to see success with Arbonne?
So initially, it was very quick.
Oh,
I
wow.
said, yeah, because I said I was single. I
Yeah.
was doing all the things. I'd say probably it was 8 months till I promoted to the first of the 4 levels of the management levels or whatnot. Probably about 8 months, and then I kind of stayed there for a while, and then life happens. I started dating my husband. We got married, and then a year later we had our son. So like all the things started like shifting, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have this big vision of like, I know I'm gonna make it to that level that I'm, dreaming of, or that I'm working towards. Um, I know this, I know it without a doubt. Timing isn't always what we want, right? I mean, we know that as faith-based individuals.
Yes. Yeah.
um, but different things happen. And so, yeah, so like initially, like immediately, it was super successful. And it still is a successful business to date. It's just uh, other things like being a mom
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
been more challenging now that my son is 5. So, when he was an infant, I could do the things like, it was easier for my in-laws to watch him or my husband to watch him while I went and did the different events and, home parties, whatever I was doing. And like being online during like 2021 and being able to keep being his, bassinet next to me, not a
Yeah.
big deal. Now that he's 5, between like
Yes.
3 and 5 was really hard.
Yes. Totally different ball game.
And I remember this is probably TMI also, but I was doing like a Facebook Live or something in my VIP group. And I'm like trying to talk about like making this like protein shake thing or whatever. And he
Mhm.
comes running into the kitchen. He's like, I gotta poop. And I'm like, no, mommy's unalive, honey. So, the dynamics change. The vision, the vision is still there.
Yeah.
My goals are still there. My goals are probably even bigger now because, you know, I see, I've seen how successful this business can be for people
Mhm.
if you just put the work in. So I need to put the work in, but
Yes.
homeschooling and a 5-year-old and all the different things like,
Yep.
you know, just trying to trying to prioritize things. And
Yes.
I know it's just a season, you know, so just being able to have that support from like my husband and other people that are around me to be able to do this.
Mhm.
And obviously, when I was single, my why was different than what it is now. And I feel like it's even more meaningful now than it was
Mhm.
when I first started. Um, Mostly because one thing that I think is really cool about Arbonne is it's a willable business.
Mm.
So you can create generational wealth by willing your business to whomever, your
Mm.
son or your
Yeah.
daughter. So
They can inherit it. Yeah.
yeah, which is really cool. I've not heard of any like network marketing or social marketing MLM who does that.
Yeah.
Um, Not to say
There's
there
on
isn't one out there, but I
I was
don't
gonna say
know.
there's only like one other that I know of that's similar to that, which it's
Okay.
not really a product based. It's so like I don't know if you're familiar with Primerica, but they
Yes, I do know
are
someone who
like
does that.
financial representatives, right? And it's
Okay.
an MLM style, so like they're representatives of Primerica. They have
Yep.
all the resources and tools, but obviously their products are financial advice and different
Gotcha.
securities and stuff like that. But I do know theirs is once they hit a certain level, they can
Yep.
actually incorporate it as their own business, and then they
Okay.
can at that point they could like transfer it to someone else and it becomes
Yeah.
like their own actual thing, which is
Gotcha.
cool.
Yeah.
But you're right. I mean, for the most part, that's really unheard of.
Yeah.
It's very, very rare to have something that you can pass on to your kids. So that's
Yeah.
amazing. Yeah.
And one thing I thought that was cool too is, you know, um, like you come into this business and
Hmm.
say you have your sponsors like whatever level,
Yeah.
there's opportunity for you to surpass the person who sponsored you. So
Mm.
you're not always under somebody, you know, it's your own personal work that goes into it and your own, you know, um, I guess if you have the work ethic to build your business and grow your business, you can actually promote past the person who brought you into the business, which I don't I don't know if that happens with other companies. I'm not
Mm.
familiar enough with other companies to know that, but
Yeah.
um, I thought that and the fact that it's willable is at a certain level is very
Hmm.
very impactful to me. So um,
Yeah.
so
So
yeah,
tell us a little bit more about like what your why was when you first got into it versus what it is now. Because I'm sure like as you become a mom, things become
yeah,
so much more like I always tell people my kids are my greatest motivation.
yep,
It's like there's nothing in the world I wouldn't do for them.
yeah,
And like when I wake up on those days where I'm like, oh, I really don't want to do all the things I got to do today, like I'd rather veg out and watch TV and eat cookies and do all these great things. It's like, no, I got to stay healthy because I'm setting myself as a role model for my kids. I got to
yep,
get the work done because that's how you build a business that your kids can thrive on in the future and build that generational wealth. It's like, there's nothing in this world I wouldn't do for my kids. And I'm sure most moms feel the same way.
yeah,
So I'm sure that's had a huge impact on your why. But I'd
yeah,
love to hear a little bit more about like what your why was like when you first started and kind of how that's evolved over time.
yeah. So when I first started, my why was um, make money to have fun,
Hmm.
so I can go, I don't know, on trips. I love to travel, go on the trips, um, out to dinner and not have to worry, so my when I first started, I was working in a hospital in Boston. So my, biweekly paycheck was for bills and, you know, rent and all those things. But
Hmm.
my Arbonne paychecks were for my fun money. And so that was like, I was single. I was just doing the things, and having
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
Um, and once I had my son, I was like, I want to be able to give him things that maybe I didn't have when I was a kid, whether
Hmm.
it's, you know, you know, karate classes or skiing lessons or,
Mm-hmm.
things that like I didn't grow up with myself. So, and I know
Yeah.
those are all kind of like materialistic things, but also, he's seen me working even
Mm-hmm.
now. Like I gave the mom I gotta poop like
Yeah,
scenario.
yeah, yeah.
But yesterday, so since then, I'm like, okay, mommy's gonna do a live. I
Mhm.
need you to be really quiet. So um he I started to film something the other day and I was like, okay, mommy's gotta do this, gotta be quiet. He's like, okay, mom, I promise. So I started filming and um I I messed up because I said something wrong and I was like, oh darn it. And so like I stopped and he goes, Mom, are you done? I'm like, no, I gotta start over. He goes, okay, I'm gonna be really quiet so you can do your live again. He's like, I promise. He goes, I know it's important. I'm like, yes.
Yeah.
So
I love that.
um but like I mean I have videos of him when he was little, just like
Yeah.
he learned his letters by reading Arbonne off the side of a box that came in
Yeah.
came in the mail, like um
Yeah.
and he he knows how important it is. And one of the things I love too is there's products that kids can enjoy. So
Yeah.
we make protein pancakes together. He uses the kids probiotic, and so he knows the products, he uses the
Mhm.
products himself, and he's only 5, and
Yeah.
you know he recognizes a symbol anywhere, if he's
Yeah.
so it's pretty cool.
That
But
is so cool. Yeah.
yeah.
I love watching how these things affect our kids as they grow too. So like I had a moment, I think like a week ago, where I was sitting here working and my oldest came in and she's 6, so she's slightly older than your son.
Hmm.
So she comes in and she's like, Mom, can you come play with us? And I was like, I'm sorry, like I really have to do this. Like give me another hour and then I'll be able to come play with you. And she
Hmm.
goes, Well, maybe I can come in here and help you work. And I'm
Oh.
like, that's like sweet, but like you don't know how to use a computer and you still
Right.
can't like, read super well or write and do all those things, right? I'm like, well, I don't know what you can do. And she goes, Well, I'll just teach people how to make $300. So
Oh,
she gets the marker board behind me with the thing and she writes the number sign in 300. And then she
yeah.
starts to write a bunch of arrows and draw pictures. And before you know it, she's like telling a story about traveling to Russia and China. And like, I don't know. It was the funniest thing in the world. I was like, all right, you do your thing. By the time it was
Yep.
done, like I'm working, and then I turn around and look, the whole thing's covered in like
Oh
this
my
big
gosh.
adventure she just drew out.
Yeah.
But it was adorable. And it's like, and it's funny because I do see that, like, the kids, when I talk to different moms who have these businesses, it really does rub off on their kids. It teaches them so much. It teaches them about how to be productive. It teaches them that they
Hmm.
can do things for themselves, right? Another thing is we are about to retire my husband, which I am like super excited about.
Hmm.
And then he'll be able to be home and be in the business with us. And so that's another thing is my
Yeah.
daughter is like, well, why can't you work at home like mommy? Why can't you do this? And
Hmm.
because to her now it's like this is an option,
Right.
whereas for most kids her age where, their dad or their mom goes to work all day long, like that's their only experience of seeing people working is
Yeah.
people going out of the house and going to do their own thing, or they don't have the flexibility that we have. So
Hmm.
it's funny. She even thinks, she's like, well, why can't you tell your boss to work that you want to work at home? And we told her, we're like, well, like, even if he was to do that, he would still have to be working. Like, he couldn't do all the stuff that I do, which is like being able to take breaks and being able to
Yeah.
come in there and take care of you guys still throughout the day. Like, we still homeschool, we still do all that stuff,
Hmm.
and I basically work in like 2-hour increments. Um, because that's how it is. It's like you got kids, you can't sit there and just be on a computer all day. And so being able to work for yourself really gives you that flexibility. And so
Absolutely.
I love that what you're talking about, like with your son, how he's getting involved and he wants
Yeah.
to like help you and he sees how important it is. I
Yeah.
think that's awesome. And so like when you look at, the future, do you
Hmm.
think that your son will be more involved in your business? Do you think that, he'll be inspired to kind of build his own thing in the future?
Yeah. I mean, I hope so.
Yeah.
He, um, he, he's a very like math and engineering
Mhm.
brained child. Um, and he's just he's very sweet and he always likes to help people. So I'm thinking like, maybe when he turns 18, he'd like to do this kind of on the side.
Yeah.
That's the cool thing is there's men in the business too. So like I know we're
Yeah.
we're a mom's podcast, but there's men in the business and there's couples in the business, like husband and wife teams that are doing this together.
Yeah.
And I was going to say something. As far as getting him involved, like if I'm doing like a vendor event or something, he'll help me package up like little sample packets, or if I'm sending stuff out to a client, he'll help me like put them in the envelope and then help me bring them to the post office. And right now we have a we have our like incentive trip that was launched in December. So every year our brand does an incentive trip to someplace tropical. So they have a little tracker sheet, and you fill in the suns to like see how close you're getting. And he's like, "Oh, can I do that?" Like, absolutely, buddy. I'm like,
yeah,
let's go to Mexico together. You can fill in all the circles all the suns for me. So, I think part of keeping the vision alive is also keeping him involved, because he is starting to understand more. Like, I'm not just on my phone scrolling Facebook and Instagram, like mommy's working. So like, I'll tell him, give me 20 minutes. I just need to finish sending this client an email or whatever. Or I have to make a call to a customer. And he's like, okay, mom, like I'll just watch TV, or I'll just, play with my toys. So like, he's starting to understand more that like, when mommy says she needs an X amount of time, it's business related, not like just social nonsense.
Yeah, exactly.
So
love that.
Yeah.
So what are the strategies that you've been doing in your business to help, like, you're talking about like going on social media, and, you've been talking to a lot of people on there. I know before you mentioned like having some home parties and stuff like that. So what have you found to be like the most successful strategies that you've done in your business to help it grow?
Definitely the in-home presentations. Through 2020, I think, must have been 20, yeah, 2020, I did a lot of online presentations, and those were pretty successful. So I had like someone I met through a network of some sort in Chicago. So she had a bunch of her friends over. We did a virtual party, like, just through Zoom. Honestly, and this sounds really terrible, but social media has not been my best friend.
Yeah.
Partly because I feel like I'm just kind of regurgitating the information and not taking the time to add as much value and like the benefits of the products or programs or the business, because I feel like I'm always strapped for time when I do that. And I know you and I have talked about a couple things in the past about some other strategies, but I love getting in front of people. I think it's a great way. The hostess gets a great reward and stuff, and I love just being with other women, or whoever else is there. I did one event last year that was a bunch of girls and their boyfriends, and like, it was pretty cool. But the guys did all the facials with us and everything, the whole skincare routine, which is funny. But I love to get in front of people, to be able to share in person. And whether that's, in person is the best, but the Zoom parties, or whatever you want to call them, presentations, those have been helpful too. I sometimes feel a little overwhelmed with social media, because I'm not that sort of, I don't say I'm not confident, but I'm not that confident, like young, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. Very influencer style.
Yeah. I don't have the influencer style vibe. I'm like,
yeah.
Yeah,
and that makes a lot of sense. And I will say, like, I've noticed, I know you've seen, like, I've switched a lot of my stuff on over to school now, is where I'm really focusing a lot of my attention. And it's very community oriented. It's not
Yep.
based in like the social media influencer style anymore. It's
Yeah.
very community oriented. And I've seen a
Yeah.
huge amount of success with that for me
Yeah.
and clients too.
Yeah.
So I agree. I think a lot of stuff is starting to shift off of the social medias.
Mhm.
And it's either you're going to be an influencer style on social media that can influence people into purchasing, or you're going to be shifting into more of a community or challenge based type of environment,
Yeah.
where you're getting support and encouragement in a group of people, you
Yeah.
know?
And I was
Yeah.
listening to a podcast the other day, it was all about, like, business growth and, like, who
Mhm.
you and confidence and attracting people to your
Mhm.
business or, to yourself, because as they say, like, you know, the person who's doing the selling, that's people are they wanna know and trust you and like you, right? And, the products are great and all that stuff, but, like, they wanna be able to identify or, like, what's the right word? You know, connect with you in some way.
Mhm.
So, um, I feel like a lot of the influencers, and maybe I'm just like, you know, um, like pigeonholing, but I feel like a lot of the influencers on social media are like 30s and under. You know what I
Mm.
mean?
Yeah.
So I'm 46, and like my age group, most of my friends have teenagers or college kids.
Mhm.
Not a lot of people my age have 5-year-olds.
Yeah.
So I'm a little bit in a funky category because people who do have kids my age are between 25 and 35.
Yeah.
So it's just a whole different kind of ball game for me. But, you know, being able to reach out to moms who, you know, have young kids, or whether they're career moms or
Mhm.
moms who are like, having their first child and I just want to stay home and be able to do
Mhm.
something to still contribute to the family financially, and or something for myself, you know,
Yeah.
that's, you know, my own fun money. If I want to go buy a fancy coffee or
Mhm.
go buy, this sweater I've been eyeing for months and
Yeah,
just, you know
yeah.
what I mean? Like just
Yep.
being able to um, do for themselves
Mhm.
um, whatever makes them feel like their best version of themselves. So
Yeah.
manicure, hair stuff, whatever it is that, you might be wanting to, um, you know, an extra income for or
Mhm.
whatnot. So,
Yeah, I love that. I
mhm,
love that. And it's so true. It's like, you have to figure out one of the biggest things that they say in marketing is like the person who's presenting, whether it's in a commercial, in an ad, whatever celebrity endorsement you're doing,
mhm,
influencer, they should essentially be the person that your target audience would be attracted to, right?
exactly.
And, or someone that reflects who they are. And
Mhm,
so there was a really good, I was watching a really great podcast between Russell Brunson and Christine Morel. I
mhm,
don't know if you're familiar with either of them, but
mhm.
Russell Brunson is a famous marketer. He's the one who created and developed ClickFunnels.
Okay,
And then Christine Morel is a really famous and popular ad creator. So she has an
okay.
ad agency, and her story is actually amazing. But she created her first ad that made her millions of dollars within a year,
Mhm.
and literally filmed it in her backyard as a single mom on her mom's ranch because she was living with her mom at the time. Like they didn't even have Wi-Fi. She literally would film it with her phone and then drive into the local
Oh my
town
gosh.
center.
Yeah,
Seriously. And then at night her mom would get home from work, she'd watch her child, her baby, and she'd drive into like the local town center, upload it onto their computers there because they had Wi-Fi.
yeah,
And then upload the ad and then go back the next day to check on it and see how it was doing. And
yeah,
that's literally how she started her business, which is amazing.
yeah.
And but she's a brilliant ad strategist. And one of the things that was interesting she was talking about was that they were working with a solar company. This was, of course, later on when she had a big production studio and everything. And so she was working with a solar company. And so they created they had this beautiful blonde, like model type person doing this ad that was like a parody of Scream. And it was hilarious. It was great. Like it was a spot on ad, but they ran it and the customer was like offended by it. And
Oh,
they're like, well, hold on, like, what did we do here? And it was because they didn't, when they were talking to the solar company hadn't identified their customer avatar well enough. And so what they had identified was like, oh yeah, like, this woman, like hot, sexy, like that's what solar panels are, hot and sexy. So like, let's get this
yeah,
going. And what they didn't think about was like, who are the people that are getting solar panels? They're families who are trying to save on money for the most part, like, and so they were like, a lot of them, they're moms who are making these decisions that are sourcing this stuff out to help cut down on their bills. And then they come across it and show it to their husbands to try to get them, to say yes. And so it was like, moms are not going to be like, they don't want to see these, half naked, beautiful blonde women, right? That's not attractive to them. They don't care about that. They just want, and so what ended up happening was they figured out that that was actually offensive to their target audience. And they changed the whole ad. They had a modestly dressed woman who was kind of more, the whole theme of it became more like sleek and modern type of thing, and more conservative in nature. And then their ads skyrocketed. And so I agree. It's like you have to figure out like who is your target audience, what's that special niche that you can capture, and how can you present yourself in front of that niche in a way that's attractive to them, right?
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's like, when you're looking at people who have kids your age, they're typically on a younger age bracket. So it's like, what is that niche that you can hop into that like would 100% be attracted to you? And personally, like I'm turning 32 this year. So I wouldn't care. I would obviously work with you. Like that wouldn't put me off or anything like that. So I don't think you would have too difficult of a time because of that, because of being a little bit older. But it's also like, okay, how do I connect with them on a different level? Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, if my age is a little outside of who they are, right, then how do I connect with them? And I think incorporating your kids into that messaging is going to be huge, because that's where you're connecting with them. We have kids the same age,
Yeah. And I don't usually tell people my age.
Yes. Honestly, I wouldn't have known. You don't look.
Because people always think I'm younger than I am.
Yeah.
And I have a 5-year-old son, so they don't assume I'm as old as I am because I have a 5-year-old.
Yeah.
So like I kind of keep that on the back burner unless someone's like really interested. And then when I tell them, they're like, no way. Like, I thought you were like 35. I'm like, great, thank you.
Yeah.
But, it was funny because the same podcast I was listening to about this like target audience and, so the woman who was doing the podcast, I think she said she was 54. And so she started her business with Arbonne when her daughter was 6. And now her daughter is 20. And she's like, oh, I know, like when my daughter's 18, she's going to want to join my business. But like at the time, like this mom, I don't know how many years it was, but most of the people in this woman's Arbonne business were people the mom's age. And the daughter's like, why would I join you? Like, I'm 18. Like, there's nobody and that's not true. There was plenty of people 18 doing this. But it took the daughter to see more people joining Arbonne and her mom's business that were college age and becoming super successful. To be like, oh, like, I guess I can do this too. Like, why am I not doing this?
Yes.
So, and again, it's, probably it was like the mom daughter thing too, that dynamic. But like, as far as like, for me, there's a lot of people, I would say a lot of people on my like global team are in like their 30s. There's some older women in Scotland, and a lot of the people I know in the States, there's all age groups. But if I'm trying to talk to people who are younger, like they can't identify as much with me, I think, because like I have a child, so I can't go out and party with them to kind of like make that connection with them. Or I mean, I guess I could, but it's not as feasible. And just a different mindset. And like I think it's kind of through all 3 of my my business avenues. Like obviously Arbonne has been the most successful since I became completely self-employed mompreneur for the last 4 years. So Arbonne's been my steady. But being able to take all those things that Arbonne offers, whether it's sense of self, community, amazing products, whatever someone's looking for, the additional income stream, and being able to reach out to moms who are looking for that, and whether you have a newborn or a 10-year-old and you're kind of in that weird phase of like, am I going to go back to my career job? Am I going to try and find something, just like, and I think that's where I can like kind of create my own niche, if you will. Like
Yes.
this is, and the best thing is, I mean, it's an online global franchise, so you don't have to be out doing vendor events. You don't have to be doing home presentations and whatever. So you can, I'm sure many moms out there have friends across the country, whether it's someone from college or, youth group or church or wherever,
Yeah.
you grew up, and, maybe you're not living in your hometown anymore. So, we all know people all over the place. And that's why I think this is such a great opportunity because, like I said, I've got clients in Canada, in California, Maine, Arizona, Florida, and I live in New Hampshire. So,
Yeah.
these are people I've met throughout my whole life that I've, connected with or kept in contact with and been able to show them the value of the products or the business model and the business opportunity. So, they've joined my team. So it's pretty cool for anyone out there who's looking for something,
Yeah.
home-based or virtual-based, whatever you want to say.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that a whole lot. And you're absolutely right. It's like, things are what people make of it. So
Yeah.
there's so much different opportunity there. And, even when people are trying to like figure out and tap into like that specific niche, I think a lot of people get hung up on demographics. Like honestly, demographics are not super important when you're looking at organic outreach.
Yeah.
It's more about buyer personas. It's more about like what's their how do they actually buy stuff? What's the process that they go through when they buy stuff, right?
Yeah.
And imitating that process the best you can to get them to actually make that purchase at the end.
Yeah.
But I love everything about this. I love that I think it's so cool that you have all these different businesses, and the one that's the most successful is the type of business that like the rest of the world is like, screw MLMs, don't
Yeah.
do them, they don't work. And you're like, that's the one that's giving me the most results. So I kind of want to also do like a then and now type of thing. So like when you first started with Arbonne, like what was your situation like then? What were the types of things that you were trying to achieve?
Yep.
And what's your life like now, and how many of those things have you achieved, and how many of them are you still working for?
So I think I kind of, described it as when I was talking about my why. So, in the beginning, it was like, I want to promote and get to the next level, for the, the bigger income and, working my way to earning trips and things like that, or incentives and bonuses. And, you know, sometimes there was like, swag bags you could earn, things like,
Yeah.
just like the stuff. And I think now I really have a strong focus on helping other women to build and to learn about this business, to build that for themselves, that additional income for themselves. I mean, yes, I still have a goal for certain promotions and income level and, earning trips and things like that, which is all well and good. But, I think helping more women to be, to find this kind of opportunity and be successful with it, and helping them be successful, is going to make me feel, more successful and better about my role,
Yeah.
in the business. So,
Yeah, absolutely. So if there were any moms that were in a situation where they're trying to figure out what their next move is, how they can get into mompreneurship, what would be your advice to them?
just do it. you know, um, Depending on, the, I mean, like I said, like the cost for joining Arbonne is very minimal. But you're never gonna get anywhere if you don't start, right? So if it's something that it's on your heart to do whatever that, you know, take that leap of starting your own business and whatever it is, like you have to start to be able to make that progress, you know, like you can't pay your bills on dreams alone.
Yeah.
So, there's got to be a motivation and, a work ethic behind it, but also, a good sense of reality. Like these aren't, being an entrepreneur doesn't make you wealthy overnight for the most part. There's time and there's there's sweat and there's busy work that goes into it, and anybody, there's, you probably have heard this before. There's like the iceberg, iceberg, what do you call it? Not scenario, but the story of like the iceberg, right? So you see the iceberg, it's like, just at the surface, maybe there's, it's pretty at the top, right? But you don't see all the stuff that happened underneath, or, the person who is standing at the top of a mountaintop at the summit, like they made it, and like they're successful, they made it to the top. But then you look at the slides previous, and like they struggled, maybe they fell down the mountain a few times, and like their hike up to the summit maybe wasn't as pretty as getting to the top and seeing that sunset or whatever, you know what I mean? So there's you don't want to give people that false sense of hope, but there's definitely a it's a time commitment, and the thing that I think really has helped me is something called like time blocking. So having certain times of day or certain like hours that I set aside for just sending emails or just doing this or that. Like when my son was a baby, when he napped is when I did all my phone calls. And now it's after he goes to bed, I can go downstairs, and I know from 8 to 9, I can text message my East Coast clients. And then from 9 to 10, it's all my West Coast clients, like, so the different time zones are beneficial, really. So you can kind of, make it what you will. And, with any kind of entrepreneurship, it's effort-based. Someone made a really great comparison of whether it's a network marketing or no matter what the business is, if you're starting your own business, like, you don't open a restaurant and not tell anyone about it, right? Like, that's kind of silly. You're still having to pay to keep the lights on. You're still having to pay to, for the rental space or whatever, your mortgage for the restaurant. But like, tell people what you're doing. Not everyone's going to want to come to your restaurant. Not everyone's going to want to do Arbonne, which is fine. But if you don't tell anybody about your business, it's kind of dead in the water. Like you can't blame anybody but yourself for not being successful, if that makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. So I know we'll have the links in the descriptions, but if people are trying to get in touch with you, how can they find you?
Well, my website will be posted below. Erica Peterson, Petersen. It's Erica with a K. Petersen.arbonne.com. I'm on Instagram as at Healthy Living with Erica, again, ERIKA. And then through there, they can start a conversation and the messaging, or comment on my posts. And I do have a VIP group on Facebook, but that's, something that I invite people to once we've kind of gotten a relationship going, if they are more seriously interested. So
perfect. And we'll put all those links in the comments as well. But thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you. Have a great one.